Y'all want to see some of the cool tools that I've picked up lately? Most of these came from my trip to North Carolina. I went to the Raleigh MWTCA meet. But some of them have come in like in the mail while I was gone or since I got back. Finally getting around to making this video. So this first one's a little Jackson saw, and I don't know what it is about these little hand saws, but when I see them, if the price is right, I just can't help myself. I go ahead and buy them. And this Miller's Falls, this is a number 65 equivalent. It's actually number 57, as you can see, and it's in as found condition, but it's got a pretty clean mouth in terms of no cracks. And I think this one's going to clean up pretty nice. So if you're a Miller's Falls kind of collector kind of person and you need a low angle, let me know, because this one is available. This number 46 was an interesting one. I saw the price on it, 17 bucks. Couldn't help myself, had to have it because I value that depth stop at more than that just by itself. And it was only after I got to looking at it, I realized, wow, this thing is a hot mess. I mean, look at that. That's actually a knob from a bench plane, from an older, like type 5 and earlier bench plane, which was pretty interesting. I've never seen one of those mounted on a accommodation plane before. But it does have the one iron in it, which is good. And I think this iron is actually serviceable, or at least I hope so anyway. I haven't even tried to take it out yet. And again, it's got that depth stop. So definitely some decent parts on there that can be returned to service. But the overall number 46, I think, is probably too far gone. This number 5 I just picked up because it's kind of that bread and butter thing. I get requests for 4s and 5s periodically. And I like to have some good, complete 4s and 5s that are just ready to go. This is a pretty decent Type 19. It's got that variation where the Stanley is upside down on the lateral. So pretty cool. But this one will have no trouble selling, probably to somebody who's just getting into hand tools and wants an inexpensive / affordable number 5 to get started with. In this next segment, let's look at some parts planes, because that is the name of the game here at Just Plain Fun. This little guy has some little marks there on the back of the mouth that kind of hurt it a little bit, but the main thing is this obnoxiously broken frog, and unfortunately I actually got a waiting list for these. So I bought this plane for 2 main reasons. Well, really 3, but 2 main reasons. One was the tote, which is actually going to somebody that was on a waiting list. And the other thing is this 2 1/4 iron right here. It's a Q logo, as you can see. And these older 2 1/4 inch irons for 5 1/2s are kind of hard to find. So even though this one's got that little bend in there, it's still going to be desirable because that can be used as is, or it can be flattened back out. And it's got plenty of life left on it. Maybe a little bit of pitting there, but you get the idea. But yeah, parts plane number 5 1/2. This is not a typical parts plane, and as a matter of fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tote, which is not correct for this plane, and I'm going to probably sell this one or trade it or whatever separately because of that nice decal. The collectors love those. And then I'm going to do my best to find another tote, so that way I can keep this plane intact as is, because it's a pretty decent little Type 16 there. I mean, I do have some pitting right here. But I'm going to try and find a tote for that. Maybe bring this one back to life. But in the meantime, this is obviously Sweetheart era tote, so it does not belong on that Type 16. And speaking of wonderful decals, same reason why I picked this one up. That's a pretty decent tote right there. And overall, this is a pretty decent plane. It's got a good Sweetheart iron. It's got the keyhole Stanley. It's not all chipped up there on the leading edge of the lever cap. But lo and behold, it's got that life-ending crack. Now, I know some people argue and say that's still serviceable. It can still be used. But I'm going to go ahead and retire that one, retire that sole, and I'm going to let these parts live on by making another plane or 3 complete again. And this was another one. I've talked about these 4 squares, I think, in a couple videos, actually. But this one, I had an opportunity to pick it up for parts, and it's got that nasty crack right there, and another one right there. So the body is shot, but everything else on it seems to be in good shape. And so I don't think I'm going to have any trouble moving these parts. And as a matter of fact, for those of you watching, whether it's a 4 square or if it's another plane that you need some of these number 3 size or number 5 1/4 size parts for, y'all know what to do. And incidentally, while we're talking about 4 squares, someone has replaced this frog, because this is not the original frog that would have been on a Stanley 4 square to begin with. It would have had a twisted lateral. More interesting tools here. I got this one for what I consider a steal. It is a Pexto. Y'all know their planes were terrible, But their other tools were pretty decent. Their draw knives, their chisels, stuff like that were pretty decent. But look at that blade and on a folding draw knife. Got that one for a really, really good price. And then I went ahead and picked up this record. I don't really deal a lot in record planes. Anybody who's ever messaged me and asked for parts for these, you know that. But I couldn't help myself on this one. The price was right. It does not have a fence, so it is incomplete. Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to need that depth stop and or that screw. So I figured I might as well go ahead and pick that one up. And then same thing, transitionals. I don't really mess with these a whole lot. But I saw this one, and I saw the price, and I saw this. Somebody has already taken the time to clean this up and get that sole true and to get that iron sharp. And when I saw that, I just couldn't hold back. I had to go ahead and pick that one up. So whether I sell it or maybe it'll make an appearance in a future video where I talk about transitional planes or something. This is probably one of my favorite tools that I picked up on this particular trip. I'm going to call this a early Type 15, number 5.5. No patent date back there, but it does have, that is a correct lever cap for number 5.5. And of course the Sweetheart iron on there. And the remnants of the decal. So this one is pretty doggone decent. It's got a good clean mouth on there. And I think this one will do really well. But like I said, that's one of my favorite ones that I picked up. And a 5.5, especially for that age, can be kind of hard to find sometimes. I didn't get these at the show. I actually got them from a friend of a friend who I went to see after day one, I guess you might say. But it's a bunch of number 39 parts planes in different sizes. Nothing much going on there. But this one has the depth stop. Got a pretty decent couple knickers there. And no blade. But I think I'm going to be able to either help some of y'all get your planes back together and get some parts. This one, look at that. That one's actually complete. Number 39 3/8 size there. So I won't take anything off of that one because everything's there. I'll just sell that one as is. But a number of parts, and this isn't even all of them. I had probably 4 or 5 more that were in that box. But that was a pretty good deal. And it's always good to find those number 39 parts planes. This one I actually picked up at the show, the Raleigh MWTCA. This one was one of my patrons showed up with this. And as you can see, the sole is shot. The tote's been repaired, but it could be repaired better. The lever cap was really what drew me to it. Because even though it's got that kind of ugly pitting, at least the leading edge isn't all chipped up. So we're going to see what we can do with that lever cap. Maybe bring that back to life. And same thing, this chip breaker and that iron. Yeah, there's some pitting there. But, especially that chip breaker, I think we can probably put that back into service. And yet another number 2 frog, which is one of the most decent parts on here. A little loose lateral there. But you get the idea. Obviously some decent parts there that can be saved. But especially this lever cap, because for number 2s, boy, I'll tell you, that's one of the hardest parts to find. When it comes to Lee Nielsen planes, I don't really buy and sell these a whole lot. Mostly if I buy them, they stay here. I don't usually turn around and resell them. I've only sold maybe 1 or 2. But this one, incidentally, it's number 40B. This one will be available. So if you see it, especially one of the patrons, if y'all have a hankering for that, you want to add it to the collection, you know what to do. I did trade for this one while I was at the Raleigh show. Y'all know I like to save the best for last, so you make the call on whether that Lee Nielsen, just on account of it being a Lee Nielsen, or this Bedrock 607, for which one is the best. So this one was kind of an oddball that came to me just recently. There's 1 patent date back there, which means that can't be the correct lever cap, because this is a Type 5.6 lever cap, and single patent date means that it's a later one. But this one is a pretty decent plane. There's no significant apologies with it. And I'm curious, y'all let me know in the comments what you think that I should do here. But I'm kind of inclined to do something like this and make this plane type correct again. And then, of course, I'm going to sell it because I don't collect Bedrocks other than my 604.5. But pretty decent plane right here. And incidentally, that would mean that this lever cap is available if you need one for your 604.5, 606, 607. Let me know. And if you're interested in that 607, let me know on that too.